Welcome to another Rhino session. In this exercise we're going to look at modeling curves in 3D, and first we're going to do a lot of networking relationships and then look at how we can model them with thicknesses. And I'm going to show some quick methods like this piping here and sweeps, but then we will do some more composite examples as well, like more custom profiles. So I'm going to delete this and start from scratch. You can create a point grid first and create a layer, let's call it points. And what I'm going to do is type up point grid. Let me switch my keyboard. Point grid, and we can set up, let's say, x count 5, y count 5, and z count 2. And we can define kind of a region or area. So let's make it this height. And I'm going to use these points to lock curves to, so that we can draw some three-dimensional networks. And we can start with polylines. So there are a bunch of ways we can do this. You can turn on your point snap and snap to different types of locations. So maybe this goes vertical, and then this goes to this direction. So you can do a lot of different examples like this. So one way to model these would be, let's actually make this one a bit different as well. So maybe it goes, let's say, from here to here. So one way we can do these is using the rebuild command. So if you rebuild, straight lines have 2 control points in their first degree, so they do linear interpolation, and we can do 5 points with a degree of 3. So what we will have is more control points on these curves. So when I turn them on, you can see I lock the point grid. So all I have to do is align these points with these corresponding endpoints, so that they will have this sort of vertical deviation. So we can do that by using set point, and I can turn off Z, and we can choose the same X and Y for these points, and this one as well. So I'm going around a bit. I'm also going to do the same for the bottom points, like that, and these two as well. And we can actually move these points to control the curvature of these curves. So some of them could have, let's say, more vertical elevation. Maybe these two go up simultaneously. So you can have a lot of different types of curvature, let's say. But this is essentially how you would model curves in 3D. Then let's say you have some cases where you want to make more networks, but you want to connect them individually to the midlines. One way of doing that would be to, let's switch to another layer. You can work with tangents of these curves. So if you hold this triangle at the bottom of the lines, now we can have a tangent from curve command available. So when I choose that, let's say we want to define some point on this curve where we want to have a line segment, and from this point then I choose from first point and extend the tangent. So this line is really useful when you want to make networking relationships between two different curves. For instance, let's say I want to connect a curve from here to the end point here. I can also repeat the same command here and extend this vertical deviation. And to model this curve from this point to this end point here, but using these deviations, what I can do is extend the cascade under the curve and use the handle curve. And with the handle curve, we select the input, and then we select the starting deviation. So that starting deviation should be on this line, which is tangential to the red curve. And then I can come up here and select an endpoint and choose this vertical line. So you can see that curve is now splitting off from this red line and going off to this tangent curve. So I'm actually done with these guiding curves, and you can see that's actually connecting pretty nicely. We can do another example. Let's make one from this curve to the end of this one, maybe. And let's do the same. We can choose any type of location. We could also do it like in the midpoint, or we can do like at the bottom point as well. But using these deviation lines is essential. For this one, maybe we choose again not the end point, but something that is closer to the end. And then I can do handle curve. This is the first point and the second point, and just choose any, just locate the handle on the tangent curve, and then you can also control it later. You can first place it, then you can also do the handle editor, so you can also come in here and handlebar editor and then choose here, and then you can basically adjust the curvature of this line, so maybe make it a bit more looser, and we can actually use the handlebar editor together with the handle curve to adjust these curves. So I basically input two networking curves as well, like so, and maybe we can do another one. Let's say you want to connect this one to this one as well. We can keep doing the same and choose another tangential relationship, maybe from here. Maybe we can do it actually with these two green ones. So from this one we can go in this direction, and for the other one maybe we do it, so maybe it goes to the top, so it comes in here. And I can do another handlebar handle curve, and then from this point I choose this tangent, and then I come in here to this endpoint and choose this tangent. And these are a bit closer to each other, so we don't have to give too much of the deviation. Maybe we can also move this one or do the handle editor again. So we could choose this curve, choose the handle editor, and then reduce this point here. So you can see you can have a lot of different types of connections. So this curve is kind of connecting those two lines as well. So let me give it another color. Let's make it profile color, so you can see that. So we have these sorts of connections. So let's make some three-dimensional interpolations or surfaces. So one command that I tend to use is the tween command, and tween command basically interpolates between two different curves. Now, one issue we might have here is these networks are kind of going to intersect with these curves. So I'm going to do this actually in a bunch of ways. So for instance, we can try to do tweening between these two. I'm wondering if that would work. If not, we could also do some adjustments. So for instance, you can choose any of these curves, like this one has a free edge. We can actually relocate it somewhere else on the grid, and then maybe this point goes out a bit more and this point comes down a bit more. So maybe that's that curve. And let's say we want to tween these two with each other, so I can do tween and choose these two. And with tweening, you need to choose the right direction, and we want, let's say, 3 outputs, so we get 3 more curves there. So you can have actually kind of nice interpolated curves. Another option would be to let's see if we could do. There's also another command that helps you draw curves from 2 views. Maybe I can cover it in another tutorial. I'm kind of skeptical about this one because if I do a tween here, this guy might move. Let's see if let's give it a shot. So let's do a tween between this one and this one. That seems okay actually. That's kind of on the outside, so that seems to be fine. And those are the kind of two curves, and I have these as well. So what I'm going to do now is kind of show you how we can turn these into strips. Imagine like paper strips. Basically, for paper strips, you can do first draw the profiles for these curves, and then we can sweep them individually. So we need profiles at the bottom, and we need profiles on top. So I can draw another line here as well. If you need another profile in the middle, then you need to have another section in the middle. So maybe I can also show you an example of that. So I'm going to isolate these for now so that we can work with them individually. So I'm going to isolate it, and then we can do simple offset to this direction, this one to this direction. And I'm going to draw some profile lines here. So you can draw one, then make a copy to all of these. I also need one at the bottom, and copy these as well. Then we can do sweep one, and I'm going to select my rail, select the profile, and get the shape. Do it again, select the rail, select the profiles, bottom and top, get the shape. And let's do this one too. So select the rail, select the profiles, and the last one. So that's one of the ways of giving them thickness. Basically, I'm kind of modeling them as strips, and we can delete these curves now at the bottom and on top. So that's one way of doing that. For the other one, let's say that you want to have like a uniform section at the bottom. So let's say this guy goes 1 unit here, and on top we want to have, let's say, profiles again. Let's actually look into this. So I'm going to isolate these two. And I'm going to offset it. Now we can actually control the sweep in the midline as well. So imagine maybe you want to have them go up vertically but then twist. So you might want to control, let's say, actually let's make them facing this way. So maybe we do, these will be the profiles on top for each of these. But somewhere here, we want them to actually face this way. And one way of doing that would be to kind of contour this curve and kind of define another profile there. So one way of doing that would be to intersect these curves with some plane or line. So let's actually try to draw a line and then do a project. So we project this curve onto, let's see, it actually doesn't do project, maybe we do intersection. So we extrude this curve in this direction, and then if I do an intersect, I want to intersect all these shapes, and we get those 4 points, right? So that will be where the new profiles have to be. So I can draw a straight line, and I can offset that in this direction. So let's say we want them to face this direction, so they're all parallel to each other in terms of profile, but then we want them to twist to open up towards the top. So if I do sweep this guy, let's see, we are missing the one here, there should be another profile. So sweep this one with these 3 profile curves. You can see the last one, it will start to twist. So that's the second one. The profiles could also be longer as well. So I made these a bit thinner, but they could also be longer. So I'm keeping them uniform for this exercise. Okay, there it is. Now I have 2 sets of curves modeled. This third one would be a bit more trickier. basically we would, let's say we want the shape to kind of follow these shapes as well, right? So that's, let's say we want it to kind of go along nicely, so you can then extract this kind of profile here. So that will be one of the profiles, and the other profile would be somewhere here. You can also extract a perpendicular line there. And you can do sweep again. This is your rail, that's your first, this is your second profile, and that's how it would look like, right? So it will peel off from that guy and go in that direction, and you can have this kind of nice connection. Let's do this one too. So I'm going to get it facing in this direction. So again, similar way, we can do another profile here. We have the top profile 2, sweep 1. This is the rail, profile 1, profile 2. That's the second connection. That also looks nice. It's inside of this part. And let's do the last one. So the last one would be that black line over there. So I'm going to highlight it, isolate these two elements. And let's see, we need another profile here, another profile here. So I'm getting the perpendicular profiles. Sweep 1, and there it is. So these are the connections. Let's see, this one actually turned a bit. You can see it's kind of twisting. If you want it to go the other direction, you can simply flip this curve. You can type a flip and sweep 1. Let's see if this fixes it. Yeah, now it goes in the other direction, I guess. I actually wanted it to go the other way, but I think I drew this one kind of connected on this side. So if for instance, if I want to give this the right thickness, maybe we can choose these two control points and then move it to this edge, and then move the profile back in place and do another sweep, right? So that looks a lot better actually. Yeah, that's more correct. Okay, so those are the 3D figures that I have. Actually, let me delete those points, and I want to give them to another layer. Let's say profiles layer. So you can see these are the kind of three-dimensional connections that I have built. There could be, of course, more connections, but the other thing we could do is, it's a lot quicker. We could simply do and get the curves again. So let's hide the profiles. We have the curves. You can simply pipe them, right? So you can just do a pipe, and let's pick the diameter as 0.2. So that's one of the curves, and you can do these simultaneously actually. So it's a lot faster. These profile curves also got some pipes. You can delete them, but you can see this would also kind of give you a nice nice visualization. So you can also copy that inside. You can also group it. So we had these, let me see, the profiles are here. So these are the paper strips. These are the pipes. You could also do kind of another way. Let's see. Let me lock these. Actually, we could just select curve and put those curves into a layer. Let's say curves were in red. Let's actually get those curves again, select curves. Sorry. Select curve and put them to curves. Then we can hide them. Now I'm going to delete these so that we can get the curves back. Yeah. So one other thing we can do is to do like complex sweeping profile. So one way of doing that would be, let's imagine, actually I'm going to make a copy of this to show you. And let's say this time I'm going to delete this one. So we do tweens. So I'm going to tween these two, but the tweening number, let's actually make it 2. And I'm going to move them to separate directions. So let's say this guy is here. This guy is here. Right, so it's kind of having kind of a uniform shape at the bottom, and then it's going to have different profiles opening up towards the top. And I'm going to draw on the grid. So I turned my grid snap on. I'm going to draw like a quad shape. Basically, you can draw this type of polyline, and then I'm going to choose these points and do a scale. So I'm going to scale them down so that I'm actually going to turn off the grid snap this time. So it's kind of a shape like this, right? And I'm going to make them into closed polylines. So basically, turn the grid snap on, and this is my shape, right? So this is one of the profiles for this curve. So I'm going to move it here. And what I'm going to do is, it's actually going to start at the bottom, but imagine, what if this actually, we could have actually done it in a different way. I wanted to actually show you something else. So for instance, imagine this guy has a profile that goes up to certain height. Let's say that height is here, and from this height it goes to some other direction, right? So how do we model that? So I'm going to do a tangent from curve, choose this line from first line, and then do a handle curve editor, and do it here. I also needed one there too, so let's do that one too. So this last configuration, I'm doing it such that we have a splitting condition, right? So this guy has basically a continuous profile all the way up to this point, and then from that point it's going to split into 4 directions. And I can split this curve at this location, and then we can do tween. And I'm going to move these curves around. So when you do tween, you can see that you get a lot of interpolation points, right? Because it's trying to calculate the curve between 2 curves. So it's trying to give you a perfect combination. So you can first rebuild this to 5 control points so that it's easier to navigate or control. And I'm going to move these around as well so that it has this type of opening relationship, right? So maybe it's doing this. And what I'm going to do is do an array polar. So I had it splitting 4 ways. So basically I'm going to do a polar array of 4 curves. And we could start with the sweep. This is the first rail, and then these are the cross-section curves. It's actually not doing them individually, so we have to do them individually. So this guy goes all the way up to there. That's the first one. The second one is this one. Third one is here. And this is the 4th one, right? So basically, up to here, it has this uniform profile, but then from here, it's going to go into 4 different directions, right? So it's going to split basically. And one way of doing it would be to cap these profiles first. So we need to get the shapes here. And then you can do dub face border and extract the borders of these faces so that you get new profiles aligned with the tangent of the curve there. So that will be a lot easier to model. And then you can choose the appropriate parts and then send them around with the sweep. You can also have them sweep to different profiles. So we could also, I'll do another version. So this is kind of a way of that shape splitting, but we could also do another version. So let's say I'm going to make a copy, and in this one we're actually going to do a different version. So let's say this is the bottom shape, but on top we have something else. So what shall we have on top? Maybe we have a larger section, right? So here the figure is aligning here, but here let's say we have something else, maybe a triangle. a shape. Oh, sorry. Let's try this one. I mean, the shape was something like this. So with 4 vertices, so it would be better to have the top shape go to a 4 vertex thing as well, but that's actually not a must. I guess you could also use different types of shapes as well for profiles, but let's say we do, let's turn off the grid snap, and then maybe something like this. I'm wondering how it would look like actually. So let's grab this one. We're almost like inverting the profile. I'm wondering if it would do it the right way. So if we do sweep 1 again, this is the rail, this is the first curve, and this is the second curve. Okay, now it's kind of showing you the location for the connection for the profile. So this vertex is going to go to that vertex, and from this one on it's going to do the connections, and it seems okay actually. You can see that it kind of blended in really nicely. And I can also make copies of this one to the other curves and do the right rotations. So this one is going to face this way, this one is going to face this way, this one is going to go this way. Alright, so now let's see. So basically you can also have different profiles there too. So sweep 1, this guy goes here. Sweep 2. And the last one. This is the last one. So it's automatically calculating, but I'm checking the profiles look kind of nice. You can also do a mirror here, so you could do 3-point mirror. You can see now it's kind of a shape like this. So because we did the end deviations, it's kind of giving me a nice profile. Maybe we could also do another one like that. Right, so that's kind of nice. So that's another way of doing the profiles, but I also wanted to show you these 2 other examples. Like you can quickly give them 3-dimensional shapes with the pipes, or you can do strips. Strips can have different types of aligned profiles. You can also use sweep too, but for that one you need 2 input curves. Maybe we can do it in another exercise. And here I also showed you you can work with grids to align curves in 3D, which will have the end deviations facing in the vertical direction. And then if you want to make more connections in the middle, you can always do networking curves with these handle curve editor, but you need to draw tangents from existing curves first. And that's always a good way of building hierarchy. Then you can choose your way of thickening your figures. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you guys in another tutorial.